this. Y'all don't even understand my excitement. So I was watching the documentary on Netflix. If you guys have not watched it, y'all definitely need to make sure y'all watch this documentary on Netflix called Who Killed Malcolm X. Now, for me, it was very informative. I learned a lot of things that I did not know that I have always wondered about when I watched this documentary. And so it got me to thinking about Malcolm X and thinking about his legacy and the things that he did. And one of the things that he did was he started an organization called the OAAU. And nobody talks about this. I've never heard nobody talk about it. I kind of forgot about it until this documentary. So with the OAAU was, after he left the Nation of Islam, he went to Mecca, and then he went to Africa, another part of Africa. And he met up with these people that had their own organization called the OAU. So he came back here and got with a couple of conscious brothers, one of them being Dr. John Dr. John Clark, and Jesse Gray, and a couple other people, and started this organization. And what it comprised of was he wanted to get the African Americans here in America from African descent and the Africans from the country Africa get it together and get this whole Pan-Africanism thing going on, get us where we needed to be. And he actually has started to make moves and started the organization. He had a few meetings before he died. And of course, he was assassinated before he could get this jumping off. So as I was doing my research up on this and reading up on it, I was like really impressed and I really admire Malcolm X as a person. Me as a person, I think that he was probably the only person that then and probably now could actually unite us. You know what I'm saying? He was just one of them type of people who was able to move in any situation that he needed to move in. And that's what made him one of the greatest, you know what I'm saying, speakers, one of the greatest civil rights workers that we had. So I was reading up on the philosophies and his principles in this organization. So he had 5 principles. The first one was restoration. In order to release ourselves from the oppression of our enslavers, then it is absolutely necessary for the African Americans to restore communication with Africa. 2 is reorientation. We can relearn much about Africa by reading informative books and by listening to the experiences of those who have traveled there. 3, education. The Organization of African American Unity devised original educational method and procedures which will liberate the minds of our children. We will encourage qualified African Americans to write and publish the textbooks needed to liberate our minds, educating them, our children, at home. 3, economic security. After the Emancipation Proclamation, it was realized that the African American constituted the largest homogeneous ethnic group with the common origin and common group experience in the United States. And if allowed to exercise economic or political freedom, would in a short period of time own this country. We must establish a technical bank. We must do this so that the newly independent nation of Africa can turn to us who are their brothers for the technicians that we'll need now and in the future. 5, self-defense. In order to enslave a people and keep them subjugated, their rights to self-defend must be denied. We encourage the African American to defend themselves against attacks of the racist aggressor, whose sole aim is to deny us the guarantee of the United Nations Charter of Human Rights and of the Constitution of the United States. So those were the principles that he wanted when he started these organizations. And this organization, they were concerned about human rights, and they wanted to focus on voters registration, school boycotts, rent strike, housing rehabilitation, and social programs with addicts for addicts. And what he did was he started to, when he would have his speech, the last speeches that he had in the last 2 weeks of his life, he started to tell people about this. And this was the fear. One of the fears of white supremacy is Black unity. People don't understand that we are the most powerful race there is on the planet Earth. That's just what it is. Yeah, I said it. We are the most powerful. We have the most power when it comes to economic. We have the most power when it comes to resources. Africa is the richest continent out there we have. And Malcolm knew that. And Malcolm had began making moves to unite us. And I think that this is something that needs to be talked about. This is something that needs to be looked into, and this is something that needs to start back up, because we are in a fucked up situation right now. Our community needs some reevaluation, and nobody's going to save us but us. And I think that Malcolm X is somebody that we should all study. We should all learn his techniques. We should all learn his ideology. And this is not to say to be a Muslim, because I'm not a Muslim, and I will never be a Muslim. Nothing against anybody that is a Muslim, but that's not me, and I will not be part of no religious group. That's not me. But just because you admire somebody that is part of a religious group, or you admire what he says or his ideology, doesn't mean that you